Organized labor really should be leading the climate justice movement. It was organized labor really that taught the social justice movements how to organize, and really how to challenge capital for power in society. And as you all know, organized labor ended up kind of not carrying through its historic mission to effectuate the transformation of society. But still, there's a lot to be learned from that, and labor still has a very, very important role to play. It's important for those of us in the climate justice movement to engage labor to the extent possible. And I think the way that Jeremy has outlined some of the ways in which we can really work together are extremely important. And there are, probably others as well. And there are the difficulties that have arisen from, the fact that labor is not really in the forefront of the challenge to capital, lead it to be possible for the media to portray labor as the natural enemy of the climate justice movement rather than the natural ally of the climate justice movement, which is what we're supposed to be talking about here. And that's not really helped at all by the fact that there are those unions out there in the blue-black alliance, as Sean refers to them, the building trades and such, who eagerly support every environmentally destructive project that the bosses dream up. And put an enormous amount of pressure on labor federations to do the same. So it has been it's been a difficult place for unions to be in. There are a few unions, as was noted, that have stepped out and taken a stand on environmental climate issues. And so a comparison has been made with the few unions who stood up early in the 60s to support the civil rights movement. And it wasn't something that labor supported back then either, but there were some unions that really came out before the days when they totally eliminated all the communists and the socialists who were the best organizers in labor. But those unions that did play a big role really did eventually bring along the rest of the labor movement, or most of it, and were very instrumental in effectuating some great change. Once again, they decided not to go all the way and really and try to end racism. The only way that racism can really be ended is you've got to first get rid of capitalism. So that's a fight that still goes on as well. But the experience of those unions leads to the experience of the ATU and the TWU, two of the big transportation unions that decided to take a stand against the Keystone XL pipeline, against the wishes of the building trades and who portrayed themselves as basically as the union movement at the time. And so just so everybody knows, it was what would be preferred, obviously, would be a groundswell from the ranks that forced the leaders of the unions to take a principled stand like that. And that's actually not the story. This was a case where the leadership actually took the lead and brought the membership along. And the leadership was aided greatly by Sean and the Cornell Global Labor Institute, which spent a couple of years really working with the unions and advancing a jobs and what might be referred to as a green jobs program, or really a climate jobs program. And the leadership of the ATU and the TWU worked together, came out with a very strong statement that opposed Keystone XL and challenged the rest of labor to join us. It may be, well, as Jeremy tried to say, a little bit counterproductive that the transportation unions would take that stand, but really it's a more natural fit than a lot of unions. We've been working a lot on trying to increase public transportation. And really, there's one of the main ways to fight climate change is through a massive increase in public transportation. The transitional ideas of transportation democracy, along with energy democracy and finance democracy, is something that the unions really need to embrace. But it would be possible even now to create a public transportation system in the United States that really would that would provide such attractive alternatives to people for getting around that very few people would really need to have cars, and nobody would really want to use cars. That's completely possible even now. And with democratic planning, a public transportation system could eliminate a huge amount of greenhouse gases, and and bring us closer to getting to the kinds of reductions that we really need in order to prevent the planet from burning up. So, interestingly, in the ATU, the leadership and the TWU as well, the leadership took the lead. There's been absolutely no opposition that has arisen from the ranks. The members have been educated by this and have been brought along, which I think is a very positive sign and can instruct us in the future. And there have been other cases where unions have also taken very principled positions, the most interesting of which I think is the energy workers in Canada, whose members actually work in the tar sands and whose jobs depend on the tar sands project going forward. These are guys mostly guys who are making $150,000 a year driving trucks in and taking the stuff out and working with the development of this tar sands, and their union opposes further exploitation of the tar sands. And I think that's a very instructive thing for us to understand. And there is absolutely no reason that the building trades unions in the United States can't do the same if we continue to work properly to bring them along. It is not in the interest of any worker anywhere to see the continued destruction of the planet, obviously. So other unions that are really that have a natural tendency to get involved are, for instance, the nurses, the National Nurses United, which came on board with a strong statement opposing Keystone and putting forward climate jobs as an alternative. And even though they get more work by dealing with the horrible effects from climate change, that is not what they want. And also the public sector workers, the first responders, and those that had to clean up after Sandy and Katrina and others are seeing very clearly firsthand the effects of climate change and see the need to oppose to oppose climate change. So those are very hopeful signs that unions can get involved in the battle. The continuing difficulties there are actually, they're tremendous as far as working with labor, but that should not deter us because in the end the unions, I believe, will play a major role in fighting climate change, something that is very much worth pursuing.